Something is brewing in Carolina. Something sharper, faster, and louder than we've seen in years. This isn't your typical August optimism or camp hype. The tone inside the Panthers organization has shifted dramatically. With new head coach Dave Canales at the helm, this roster isn't just practicing, they're preparing with purpose. Players are locked in, coaches are commanding the field, and perhaps most importantly, fans are beginning to believe again. But beneath the energy and excitement lies a problem the franchise can't afford to ignore, because one unresolved decision could destabilize everything they're building, from the inside out. On the surface, everything looks promising. The Panthers have been decisive with their preseason starters. The wide receiver room has been restocked with speed, size, and versatility. FanFest saw over 40,000 supporters reignite their connection with this team. It all signals a franchise that's turning a corner. But beneath the celebration, one key position remains undecided, and it's a position that quietly dictates whether this offense hums or collapses. The Panthers don't need more flash, they need functionality. And right now, they're still searching for the right man to keep the offensive engine running smoothly. The center battle is where all eyes need to turn, because while Bryce Young steps into what may become a defining season, none of his talent matters if the man snapping him the ball isn't consistent. One job, two contenders, and a decision that carries far more weight than the headlines might suggest. From protection calls to blitz recognition, the center isn't just part of the line, he is the line. If the Panthers get this wrong, it doesn't matter how exciting their weapons look, this offense won't function. And that's a shame, because the weapons are beginning to look legit. Carolina didn't just patch holes this offseason, they reloaded. First-rounder Xavier Legette is already showing the speed and physicality that got him drafted early. Rookie Teteroa McMillan has been a standout as well, proving to be more than just a contested catch specialist. He's lining up all over the field, taking tough hits and building chemistry with Young in real time. Veteran Adam Thielen continues to serve as a steady presence, while Hunter Renfrow, often overlooked, is reestablishing himself as a chain-moving machine. Then there's tight end JT Sanders, who has quietly had the best training camp of his career. Leaner, quicker, and clearly in sync with the offense, Sanders is giving Carolina something they've been missing in the middle of the field, a true mismatch threat. Add in the growing role of rookie back Trevor Etienne, whose burst and vision are already catching coaches' attention, and suddenly, this offense has real shape. Even Jimmy Horn Jr., fighting for a depth role, is drawing praise for his special teams impact and explosive play potential. For the first time in a long time, this unit looks dynamic and unpredictable. But again, none of it matters if the snap-to-throw connection breaks down. Bryce Young's timing, his decision-making, his rhythm, it all starts with the man in front of him. A misread protection call, a low snap, a late recognition of a blitz, it's all it takes to unravel a drive. And that's the storm quietly building beneath all the optimism. Make no mistake, this isn't just another year for Bryce Young. It's the year, the one where excuses fall away and accountability takes the lead. He's now surrounded by a supporting cast strong enough to give us a fair evaluation, but that means the pressure on him is higher than ever. Last year's growing pains, slow starts, offensive stalling, a shaky rhythm can't be repeated. Dave Canales knows it, and that's why he's insisting Bryce get meaningful preseason snaps. Early in camp, Young has shown the flashes you'd expect from a former #1 overall pick: tight window throws, confident drives, and improved command of the offense. But there have been lapses too. Hesitation, turnovers, and moments where the pocket feels too loud. But behind the scenes, that's intentional. The staff is deliberately throwing curveballs at him. Exotic looks, simulated pressure, unscouted blitzes. They're not trying to expose him, they're preparing him. Even Joe Burrow has said it. Quarterbacks need live reps more than anyone, because practice doesn't simulate game speed or contact. This is the year Bryce must command not just the offense, but the team. He needs to own the huddle, the pace, the voice of leadership. But none of that happens if there's chaos at the line of scrimmage. And right now, there's still no clear answer at center. No position on the Carolina Panthers roster carries more immediate pressure than center. It's the only spot on the offensive line where a clear starter hasn't been named, and that uncertainty is beginning to reverberate through the entire offense. The competition between Cade Mays and Austin Corbett isn't just about who plays better in practice. It's about durability, consistency, and trust. Mays, who started 8 games last season, performed admirably under tough circumstances, allowing only 10 pressures. He's younger, healthier, and appears to be on an upward trajectory. On the other hand, Corbett, while more experienced, hasn't been able to stay on the field, plagued by injuries across his 2 years in Carolina. The front office is watching this battle closely, not only for performance, but for its implications on the team's identity and cap flexibility. If Mays wins the job, it could create over $2 million in additional cap space, room that could be used to reinforce other areas or remain agile in season. The difference between Mays and Corbett isn't just measured in pass blocking efficiency, it's about the long-term foundation of the offense. The center sets protections, recognizes blitzes, and controls the tempo. Without a steady leader in that role, chemistry with Bryce Young can't develop, and without that chemistry, everything else risks unraveling. But the discussion doesn't stop there. Inside Carolina circles, the whispers are getting louder. Some analysts and even fans are starting to wonder if the team should move on from Corbett entirely. Not because he lacks talent. Corbett has proven he can be a reliable NFL starter when healthy, but because Carolina can no longer afford the gamble. Availability is the greatest ability, and the team can't head into a pivotal season depending on a veteran who might not last through October. Financially, cutting ties with Corbett would unlock over $5 million in cap space. That's significant. Money that could be redirected towards shoring up the defense, adding a surprise late free agent, or simply giving the franchise breathing room in case of injuries. But beyond dollars and cents, the move would be symbolic. It would signal a clear direction, building toward the future, empowering young talent, and giving Bryce Young the continuity he needs. That said, moving on from Corbett wouldn't come without cost. He brings a veteran presence, leadership, and knowledge of NFL fronts that a younger player might not yet possess. His departure would send shockwaves through the locker room, especially if Mays falters early. It's a risk, but with the stakes this high, the Panthers might not have another choice. Meanwhile, the rest of the roster is beginning to reveal its depth and its limitations. CBS Sports recently named defensive tackle Derrick Brown as the Panthers' most likely future Hall of Famer, sparking a wave of debate across the fan base. Brown's dominance in the trenches is undeniable. Over 200 tackles and 6 pass deflections last season, but many questioned why players like Adam Thielen or J.C. Horn weren't included. Thielen brings career longevity and consistency, while Horn, though battling injuries, has the raw talent to be elite if he can stay healthy. Even running back Chuba Hubbard has entered the conversation after a breakout 1,000-yard season, adding more intrigue to Carolina's emerging offensive core. Joint practices with the Cleveland Browns have added fuel to the fire. Rookie Trevor Etienne continued to impress with polished runs and bursts through tight lanes. Tight end J.T. Sanders remained a mismatch nightmare in space, while defensive rookies Shamar Bartholomew, Corey Thornton, and Chow Smith-Wade showed sharp instincts and aggressive coverage. But it hasn't been perfect. DJ Johnson's hip injury has slowed his progress. Guard Chandler Zavala remains sidelined, and wide receiver Jalen Coker appears to be losing ground in an increasingly competitive battle for depth roles. These practices haven't just been tests, they've been proving grounds. Every snap is now a data point. Every rep is a resume. For some, this is a launch pad. For others, it's the last stand. Special teams may end up being the final battleground for players on the bubble. The team faces decisions like Fitzgerald versus Wright, or whether Jimmy Horn Jr.'s explosiveness outweighs the dependability of a player like Raheem Blackshear. These aren't just footnotes to camp. These choices shape the margins of the roster, and it's often those margins that determine close games in December. So here's where it all stands. The Carolina Panthers have infused their roster with speed, youth, and versatility. They've placed Bryce Young at the center of it all and handed him a group of weapons that, on paper, can compete. But without solving the mystery at center, everything remains unstable. And every moment that decision lingers, the clock ticks louder. Is Carolina on the verge of a breakout, or are they building on shaky ground? The final answers won't come until the regular season, but one thing's clear. The Panthers are no longer rebuilding quietly. They're building a monster, and soon, the rest of the league might be forced to take notice.